Okay, very small update today. I actually wasn't planning to get a 2021 calendar just because I keep not using them, but then this was at my local grocery store, and I'm like, yeah, that'll do. Very surprised to find that, but yeah. Anyways, I'm going to make up for today's update being really small by also uploading a cooking video, because I wasn't even sure if this one thing was going to arrive. In fact, there was a possibility of two things arriving, and this of course would be a limited run game thing, hence the very special color of the thing. Sorry, I'm just making sure there's nothing else in there, and I guess there's not, but we have Forgotten Anne, which looks pretty neat, and you know, it came with a limited run games card. Let's just open this real quick to get the card in there, because there's nothing else to see here. I mean, you see there's a package, but it's just going to be one package. It's just going to be one DVD in this package, and all I have to do is shuffle it that way, get this started, and okay, we're already inside. We'll begin by removing this sticker to look at some potentially sexy foot. Okay. So this is Azur Lane, aka not Kantai Collection. Where the fuck on here does it say it? I mean, I'm guessing that's a title, but that's in Japanese, so the fact that I knew this was Azur Lane just shows you that I could remember what act was actually going to arrive today. Battleship Girl Betrayal to Span Every Ocean. Okay, so yeah, this is really confusing because, you know, this sounds very similar in concept to Kantai Girls, and you know, these appear to be girl versions of battleships. I'm not sure if they actually look like it as much as the Kantai Collection girls, but it could be what's interesting about it, because maybe they're not girl representations of ships. Maybe they're just capable of fighting as if they're ships. So this could be something more alike Strike Witches or something. I don't know. I'm just at least familiar enough with it to know that it sometimes when I see a picture I think that they're Kantai Collection or not. Anyways, I've been hovering on that a whole lot because it's region A and B, which is pretty notable. We've got an English dub. Looks like special features are here. That's yeah, textless opening. Why am I having trouble reading that? It might be me. That wouldn't be good. This is a complete collection. I don't know if this means it's a season. Oh look, it actually says what? So look, the thing with the code doesn't have a thing on the back anymore. Nani? Okay, I'm actually kind of having trouble completely discerning there, because that's obviously girl with sea captain kind of hat. And she doesn't look anything like from Kantai Collection, other than the fact that she does look like a battleship girl, I guess, for lack of better words. But, yeah. Anyways, this is definitely a curiosity. I'm not sure how well I remember Kantai Collection, but I think I get enough of the general impression, because I only watched the first season, and I'm guessing season 2 is where things get a little more internet meme-ish. I say that as if it's really been memed, but I'm mostly thinking about the ocean himes. Like, they're kind of there in the first season, but I kind of suspect that some of the more interesting things about them are in the second season. Where's this one? I don't know, but here's this week's anime DVD collection update. And yeah, the update's small, but I did watch a couple of things, so I can talk a little bit about that as well. I mean, obviously I spent time doing Thanksgiving stuff. Since I had time off, in theory that means I could have done more stuff, but I guess that got sunk into doing some Avatar related stuff. But let's talk about stuff I've watched first. So I decided to give Mewtwo Strikes Back. I decided to give Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution a watch. I think the warning that one of my subscribers gave me is pretty much accurate. You know, it's pretty much just the same as the first movie, except done CGI, and it's not even really different. It's pretty close beat to beat as the other one. There's maybe a couple of small timings, but it's pretty much the same. So if you watch that movie and this movie, conceptually they're the same. I'd say there's actually some trade-offs. I think like the expressibility of these CGI characters isn't quite as natural as the animated versions, I guess. And I'd say that has more to do with the limitations of the animation style in general versus the CGI one being a lot more, everything's always well defined at every point in time sort of thing. I'm not sure if that makes sense the way I said it. But, you know, on the other side, a lot of the special effects and stuff work a lot better here. I'm not sure if movement is better or not. I was wondering if it was, but you know, definitely it's one of those things where because this one was done in CGI and much newer, it basically means that the special effects kind of work better in this, but and they integrate with things just in general better, I think, but not in a way that, you know, the original wasn't particularly bad in that regard. I can't even remember all the details, but the original, you know, again, I kind of feel like some of the emotions expressed through animation work a little bit better that style, and there could be a preference thing there as well. So overall, it is what it is for the most part. If you have a strong preference, animated versus CGI, that might change your opinion on which version of the movie you might want to watch if you haven't seen it. But for the most part, you're watching the same movie, and it's going to have the same messages and flaws and whatnot as it was always there. I mean, this is one of those things where, you know, I kind of find it to be okay. Not like, oh yeah, this is one that everybody's going to watch and go, yeah, sure, yeah, that was a movie. I could see some people just going like, why am I even here? And this isn't even a what's Pokemon thing again. It's kind of one of those things, like the movie's got some neat messages in it, but it doesn't feel themed around those messages. You kind of watch it and you kind of feel like more like the characters kind of stumble upon these good messages as opposed to there being real consistency to it, I guess. And it's also, I guess, worth mentioning that this is pretty much a shot-for-shot remake of the US version of the movie. You might have seen like specials, cutscenes, whatever, things that were related to the first movie, but maybe not shown in the official movie, if you ever saw them that way or not. But the truth of the matter is those were all originally part of the original movie, and they're in the Japanese version, and they're even in a Japanese DVD release which contains the English dub of all of those. And maybe there's some correctness about, maybe there's some timing issues there that make it where it's just like even more meandery than maybe some of my complaints leveled at this movie as it currently exists. But this one is basically a remake of the original US one without those scenes. I don't remember seeing any special features on here that would have had those missing scenes, but they're kind of nice because, I mean, they kind of give you a little more insight into why there was this cloning research being done in the first place, maybe some of the initial character development for Mewtwo, and it also gives you some insight as to why the 3 clones he already had were Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise. And spoiler alert, it's because he wasn't the only clone being grown at the initial time, but he's the only one that survived. And the other clones were of a Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and the lead researcher's daughter. And Mewtwo was able to kind of interact with them while he was still in his developmental stages because of his psychic powers. But just interact with them, and they kind of fade away because the cloning process wasn't stable, but Mewtwo managed to survive because he's fucking Mewtwo. And I think some of the implications there is he started up the cloning thing and started cloning those same Pokemon, but fixed some of the problems or something like that. I don't know. The point is, it kind of tells you why the researcher was trying to do cloning in the first place, how T. Brock was able to take advantage of that because Giovanni can be a bit of a dick. And, yeah, but, blah, 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 blah. It's all stuff. Ultimately, it's the first Pokemon movie, and it is what it is. And then, the next anime. I did watch the first 3 episodes of Be the Beginning. And it's kind of unfortunate because it actually has some good stuff in it. Good ideas and stuff. It's just definitely doing something wrong storytelling-wise. It kind of has these 4 interconnected, related, but unrelated sort of stories, elements kind of going on. And that would basically be summarized as... I'm looking at this and wondering if they have more. But okay, so you have the police, you have the tattooed people, you have Dr. Freeman, who's... okay, I'll have to talk that. And then you have B, the guy with the angel wings down the bottom. So basically you have these 4 elements, and they're all interesting and neat, and they do seem like they work well together, but the show doesn't seem to know what it wants to do. So, and this is just based on the first 3 episodes. If it evolves after that, I'm not sure. To kind of get things in mind, it feels like the way it's executed, the main characters are the cops. Because it kind of feels like, they're dealing with mystery after mystery or incident after incident as cops. And he's kind of brought in, he kind of was with them, but he was in a different department and brought back in the main one. I guess somehow related to the B's killings. And B's kind of like this Dexter person. But if you're not familiar with Dexter, he's a serial killer that kills other killers, pretty much. So, B seems to be some sort of avenging angel that kills people who are these horrific people that really brutally murder other people or something like that. So, in theory, he's chasing after him, but he's working with them, but he never really works with them. In fact, he just kind of seems to be there and maybe make a couple observations, but most of their stuff is the stuff that's the real stuff going on, the real stuff that you see things through, which is weird because then it's kind of presented like this guy's trying to track B is the most important, except that it seems like a side thought that's put in front of everything, which is what happens with B as well, because these people are orchestrating crimes that these people end up having to get involved with, but they're orchestrating crimes for auxiliary purposes, either to commit other crimes that we haven't seen explained yet, or to lure B out, because there's some sort of backstory between them and B. And if this is all going, wait, I'm getting lost. What? And then, yeah, that's pretty much the problem, because when the story's flowing and people are discussing stuff and learning new information, it's told from their point of view, even though they're the ones doing stuff behind the scenes and you kind of see hints of that, but then it's not anything they're doing with regard to them or regard to them having an agenda other than it being somehow related to him, who's neat and seems to have some sort of backstory issue that they didn't even bother to fucking explain other than just say, oh, yeah, he probably doesn't remember stuff. Who is this she that he was talking about? I don't know. They didn't say. It's maybe mysteries, except we spent the least amount of time with him. We spend more time with these people, this guy, the most time with these people, and it's just like, it seems to me like he's designed to be the important person, but everything doesn't seem to be spinning around him, even though their plans seem to be doing that, but they're like, oh, we got to deal with this thing, oh, we got to deal with this thing, and 3 episodes, 2 incidents, it's whatever, and it's unfortunate because there's a lot of really neat stuff in there. Like, he could be a really neat character that if they showed us more of him being kind of there at the forefront doing important things, would make sense, but he seems to be there as kind of like the police officer chasing after his Lupin, and he feels too afterthought, even though he's kind of put forefront right behind B, who's also put forefront but spending the least amount of time on the screen as anybody else. It's... yeah. Personally, especially since they were doing a whole lot of stuff with these cops-focused center, I was more interested in seeing them doing stuff, even though some of that stuff, you know, there was its dumbness. Like, oh, here's the brash-talking cop that's, you know, the entire hotel just fell into a trap, and so he's picking up the person they just arrested, and he's just talking to them like this. I'm like, it's probably not how a police organization works. Like, even if you're going a little more ragtag, it's like, what would you expect from that? And I would just take a step back and think that there's actually just some, maybe not shoddy writing, but maybe a little lazy writing going on there. Where it's like, well, we need the guy to talk, and we need this guy to kind of put a kind of attitude or something. And I don't know. It's probably perfectly watchable. It's just, from a storytelling perspective, it is incredibly flawed. Which, you know, I was kind of thinking, like, I was watching a YouTube video about H.R. Geiger and his work with Species, and it was interesting because I saw some people from the YouTube comments talking about how they should just give H.R. Geiger complete creative control, and another person kind of expressed my thoughts of hearing that is that if you didn't hear the context, H.R. Geiger comes up with interesting ideas, but I don't know that he necessarily comes up with practical ideas. Like, and this could just be an artifact of the way this specific YouTube video structures things, but it seemed like they wanted to work with him a little bit more strongly than maybe he felt like he had been before, but he kind of took that to mean he could do anything he wanted, budget was not of concern, even though the movie was intended to be on a budget. So it kind of feels like if H.R. Geiger had made something with his complete creative freedom, you probably would have been seeing a movie that was very flawed. There would probably be interesting things about it, but it probably wouldn't portray the story you might care to hear. So it might be one of those things where it's just like his works are the interesting thing. And it's really hard to tell because, unfortunately, he's passed away, and I don't think there was any works like that, but it's interesting because that's kind of the human experience where these neat things can be put into something, and sometimes that can be the source of problems. I also saw similar complaints coming out about, like, well, I don't know, about various movie directors in general, where if people don't hold them back and tell them, no, this is not going to work, that's not going to be entertaining, and then when they release whatever they want to release, surprise, surprise, it ends up being an opening crawl for the very first Star Wars episode, or Star Wars movie in a long time, which is about trade disputes, you know, the most exciting thing ever. I'm sure there's people really interested in it. It's just, I think even people interested in it, you should probably acknowledge that doesn't necessarily make it exciting as a more general definition of the term. But, I don't know, I digress. I'm babbling about random stuff out there. Part of me is, I'm just a little irritated, cranky or something today. Especially since, you know, this week's update is small because I put off pre-ordering the stuff that would have come out this week too late. Because normally it would have shipped, like it wouldn't have been the stuff that came out this week. I meant the stuff that came out last week. Like, normally if I pre-order it, then it kind of ships on the day that it comes out. So the stuff that would normally come out today will ship today and arrive in the next couple of days, and then they'll just be in the update. But I didn't do that for last week's stuff, And so it's probably also going to be kind of slower because of Black Friday, Black Monday, Cyber Monday stuff. And because of that, I've also done a cooking video for today, so it's kind of a 50-50. It's not cooking anything particularly spectacular, it's just mashed potatoes, but, you know, just kind of showing that, just concerned about the fact that even though I know I do this mostly for myself to, you know, keep track of what I'm receiving, just in case, you know, something happens, if a fire burns down the apartment. There's all these YouTube videos showing stuff I did order, and then at that point it's probably mostly a problem of insurance wouldn't pay out on all of it. But whatever. Putting all of that aside, I'm babbling. I'll go ahead and end this video here. Y'all, have a nice week.